Alrighty, folks. Good morning. It's Monday morning. Recording this on Monday instead of usually do it Sunday evening. But I want to get this up so that throughout the day, you guys have something to check out as you get. Whoa, that's an interesting bug there. So yeah, I want you guys to have something as you're working towards getting ready for Darlington this week in the 87 Cup cars. Look at that, that's crazy. The spec map and stuff just applied everywhere in the preview. It's pretty cool looking. Anyway, so rather than doing the way that I've done these previously, I'm going to experiment with a different format this time, which is I'm just going to do about 20 minutes of live practice for this. And I also wanted to highlight a cool little thing that I just found out, or figured out in the UI. So what you do here is you can do this for any series. So I'm going to do this in the NASCAR Legends series. Click here, selecting vehicle, I don't think really matters there, but go over to the schedule, and I'm going to pick Darlington, which is the next one. They got a little drop down here. You just get drive now. You can either create a hosted session with it or a test drive. I'm going to do a test drive session to test it offline. They've already got the settings set, carried over from what's set in the schedule. It's a good thing I did pick my car earlier because it just sets your car automatically, sets the track correctly. Track conditions, time of day is set to in sim time of April 9th, 12 p.m., just like what we're going to be racing for the race. So that's a good way to basically, with one click of a button, you can just set up a session and get ready to hop in and go racing. Now while this loads in, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been learning and what I've been working on as far as line goes for Darlington this week. Basically, heading down into turn one, unlike the line with the 87s, from what I've found, is a little bit different from how you run a lot of other cars. Generally down into turn one, a lot of times you're not using hardly any brake at all. In the A car, the B car, the truck, it's usually mostly just a lift, and you kind of play throttle all the way around. You're going to be braking here, and braking kind of you're going to brake a little bit before you're turning. You're going to want to stab at the brake to set the nose and then get back off of it, and then just use trail brake to coax it through. Then you're going to pick up the throttle. You can get up to full throttle in the middle of 1 and 2 depending on how much you let off with your roll speed. What I find is that when I'm doing my best possible line through there, I tend to not be full throttle until I actually straighten out my wheel on the exit of 2, and I'm just playing in the like 50 to 75 to 90% range depending on where it is. And then entering turn 3, really hard braking. Entrance is lower than what I usually do for other cars. But yeah, so we're going to hop in here. Gonna warm up with a hot lap, and then we'll do a little bit of a longer run. I want to show a couple of different things with the line, because the hot lap line and what you're going to want to use in the race when you're taking care of your tires are slightly different in terms of how much you're going to want to wring it out. So pretty decent amount of brake into 3. Get up there right next to that wall for when you're really trying to maximize your exit, and you do want to cut down. You don't want to just ride the wall. At least what I've found, the setup's too tight to just ride it up there, so you want to help the car out by straightening it out a little bit. That wasn't a great 1 and 2. Could have been better for sure, but first lap, that's why I always need a little bit of a warm up to really start putting out decent laps, you're going to see why here. So 31.7, that's not great. I've found like a decent times in the 31.4s from what I've been practicing. Can get down into the 31.3s. I was running with my teammate. He got down into 31.2 territory. And we were both talking, we expect there to be even faster laps than that. Now what I'm running right here is a bit more of a conservative line. You don't want to really be, you do want a little bit of attitude, but you don't actually want to be overusing that right rear, either on entry or center off. You will pay for it if you punish that right rear tire early in the run. I didn't mention it before, but 16-to-1 steering ratio, 42% brake bias. Put that brake bias down at the absolute minimum because you do want to be able to use that trail brake to rotate the car and get it pointed down towards the bottom of the track. But then you also want to be easy with it so that you're not just completely torturing your right rear tire. Now what you're seeing me do here will help save some tire without giving up much speed in 3 and 4. It'll really keep those tires cool, and that'll pay off on the long run if you're consistent with it. You might lose a little bit of time to some guys early on, but rather than going all the way out to the wall in 3 and 4, just going up to that seam is a safer line. Keeps you from really putting the car at a lot of risk, and will help you take care of the tires. It's a 90-lap race this week, so you know, I said you couldn't make it on fuel last week at Charlotte. It looked like actually that there were some guys able to clutch enough and play the fuel strategy that you could make 90 lap or 75 laps at Charlotte if you're really stretching it out and you fully commit to that. You won't be able to do that at Darlington this week. There's just no way to get 90 laps out of the fuel and the tires. You probably could get them out of the you probably could get a full tank run out of the tires if you're really saving the fuel, but the fuel tank's about 70 laps. The race is about 90 laps. The race is 90 laps. You're not going to be able to save 20 laps worth of fuel. I don't care how much you're clutching. If you are able to actually make it, you're going to be giving up so much time and pace that the one-stop guys will come back past you. So, you know, obviously if there's a caution and we restart around lap 20 with 70 laps to go, then you're going to want to go into a tire saving mode if it goes green the whole way to make sure that you don't blow a tire before the end of the race, which is very easy to do. As you guys know, Darlington's got a reputation for just absolutely chewing up tires, and it definitely does this week. But again, that's dependent on how you drive. If you are a little bit easier with them, they'll last you a lot longer than if you're just abusing them. You know, it's possible to torch your right front or your right rear or right front so bad, depending on how you're driving. You could probably, if you really were just going completely crazy with it, blow a tire inside of 40 laps. For me, I'm looking at probably wanting to target pitting around lap 50, so a little bit past halfway. Generally in these cars, you want to be on the overcut side of things rather than on the undercut side. And that's kind of how I'm going to be approaching race strategy. So, talking through a lap here, you saw how I sort of stabbed the brakes, and now I'm just riding 50% throttle here. Going to pick it up. These straights at Darlington are pretty long, so you really want to bias towards exits. You can give up a little bit in the center of the corner if it means that you get a better exit and run off. And you see right there, I'm not going all the way out to the wall. I'm just kind of going up to the seam. But yeah, brake right about there. let it go down, riding the wall, cut back down off. Don't really want to get that low. You saw that compromised my exit a little bit, so I turned in a little bit early there. Just nice and easy off of turn 4. So yeah, we're a little over 10 laps in now. That's lap 11 complete. Again, dragging the brake, off the brake, back up to the gas after you apex on that first part of 1 and 2. Ride it high, and then you want to get as straight a drive off. I'm still cutting too early there. I'm going to try to get another one where I remember to cut a little bit later. Now that angle part of the wall there is a good place to gauge your braking point. And actually you want to do it a little bit earlier. You saw right there, I actually got the thing pretty kicked out and almost went up into the wall. You don't really want to be doing that in the race. As you saw at the tracker though, there is speed to be gained by really slinging it in there. But if you're sliding your right rear like that all the way through the corner, that is a great way to make a lot of speed for a short period of time at this track. But your tires will just not be there for you at the end of the run. That right there is a better way of accomplishing the same type of pace without being as torturous to your tires. Although, if you flirt right up next to that wall, if you're just up there flirting with it every time, be careful. Just, be aware that it can, you're giving yourself very little room and margin for error there, so it can jump out and bite you. And when the wall grabs you, it's going to do some damage to your car, and it'll likely kill your momentum for that exit. And then, obviously, if you got guys right around you, it can potentially get even worse if you slow down in such a way that the guys around you can't react to it, and you can cause a wreck. So you want to be careful with that. You definitely want to try to keep it off the wall as much as possible. See, right there. Just threw it in too hard. But you can see that, sometimes you can maintain your pace. You just don't want to do that too much. You want to be really careful with that, because using up that car is going to be a problem. 90 lap race is actually a pretty decent race length at Darlington. A little bit of endurance. You're going to want to be on the surviving side of the war of attrition that I expect this race to be. Now, there may not be a lot of cautions, because a lot of incidents at Darlington clear down to the bottom and don't actually bring out a caution. So there may not be a ton of cautions, but there will be a lot of little incidents like that. Guys getting into the wall, guys scraping things up, guys getting frustrated and, mentally fatigued and stuff like that. Darlington wears on you. So the more that you can be real calm, smooth, and just kind of taking care of your own stuff, running your own race, the better you're going to set yourself up for a pretty decent finish here, and be able to take advantage of the mistakes of those around you through the course of a 90-lap race here. So there again, going back to a more conservative line to show you that you can still keep pretty decent pace with it. I'm going to try cutting a little bit later than I have been here. It still feels a little bit too early, but definitely a better exit there off to than what I've been doing. And again, lift maybe a cup like at the red or the white before that angled part of the wall hits. And yeah, you can see that, more gentle line, a little bit easier on the tires probably, although that stab that I gave of the throttle to rotate the car probably used up a little bit more right rear than I would want to do. But you saw that it was still able to keep pace with what I was running when I was really torturing the tires. So here we go again. A little bit more fire and anger into the, harder entry into the corner. Let it go up higher. And not any faster than I was with my conservative line. So again, over the long run, I think that a little bit more of a conservative approach is probably what you're going to want to have in the race. Right there you can see, and I want to underscore this, how much time is out there to be gained in 1 and 2. The difference of, a decent line versus a more optimized line can be 2/10. You can make up tons of time through 1 and 2. You can make up time in 3 and 4 as well. Again, it's just that, because of this track it provides so many opportunities to make small mistakes and things like that. That's, opportunity to gain time on your competition as well. So being smooth, being consistent over the long run is going to be much more important in this race than being able to lay down one super fiery hot lap. That helps a lot because you get a lot of track position. But if all you can do is a hot lap and you can't go out there and run consistent laps, you're going to have mistakes through the race that will add up on the clock. Every single time you make a mistake that costs you 2/10, that adds up. You never really get that back. You only get that back if everyone else ends up making the same mistake at some point. Otherwise, that's just a net of 2/10 time that you've lost to your competition. So really focusing on making sure that you're getting good, smooth, consistent laps. You're not making big mistakes. That's going to be how you make time. So I always recommend practicing long runs rather than focusing all your practice time on hot lap pace. Because the line that you drive and the way that you drive the line in the race is going to be a little bit different from the hot lap. Now, it's still good to have knowledge about what the hot lap is formed in your mind. That same general shape tends to apply to the race, and you just sort of take that line and you back it off 5-10%, and that's what you run for the race. But I really do recommend practicing and getting consistent with running just lap after lap after lap, nice and clean, because that's how you're going to make good pace here. So we're finishing lap 25 here. That'll be a good time to pull over, take a look at tire wear. It's about half the distance of what we're planning on running in the race, so I'm going to pull it down into pit road and then take a couple more stabs at the hot lap. Yep, and you see, got sloppy, got thinking about other stuff, and slid myself up into the wall there through 3 and 4. So we had 2 light hits with the wall during this run, and we also had a couple mistakes where we tortured the tires pretty good. And I'm going to pull it in here, and we're going to take a look at the tires. So for pitting, I like to get down right below the line there, and actually sliding it in there. That was a little bit aggressive, but that actually worked all right. Now, if your right rear tire's really gone, that kind of slide's probably going to torture it a lot more. So we'll see what the tires look like, understanding that we're including that slide on it. But yeah,
right here.
If you do end up in a situation where you have to make a green flag pit stop, I do recommend getting down off the banking and below the hashes before the turn, using the banking to slow yourself down. You probably want to get a little bit more slowed down than I was, because that right there that's a bit scary for pit entry there. You're able to hold that controlled slide, but you don't want to risk it that much, I don't think, when you're pitting. Tires. This is pretty good wear after a 25 lap run. 71, 67, double wear. So at about lap 50, we're going to be looking at around 30 to 35% on the right rear and right front, which means that, still enough tire that we're not really getting into the danger zone. And, where we'd likely fall off the cliff that you usually see with these tires. But yeah, that's pretty decent. So you guys can, you know, use that video of that run to help you with line in terms of race pace. That should be a pretty good barometer. So I'm going to go back out there, though, because I do want to try to get a couple attempts at a solid hot lap and talk through what you're going to want for just raw pace and a qualifying lap. So now that we're warmed up and we got some laps under our belt, hitting a better time than what we did on that first one shouldn't be too difficult. Again, I always recommend warming up. For me personally, I tend to be pretty bad when I just hop in cold with no practice. It takes a few laps to get warmed up and really get right back into the feel of where the edge of the grip is and what the actual line is. So we're going to head down into one here, a little bit of trail brake, get back to that throttle, try to do a good late cut there. And our 1 and 2 was all right. That was pretty similar. So 3 and 4 was really where we gained time there. Put us into a 5.92. So better. Apparently we had a better 1 and 2 than I thought. I thought that 1 and 2 wasn't great. But yeah, it was actually, looks like that was a 15-4 split on the back straight. That's not bad actually. So we'll do a couple more attempts at this and then call it a video. That one there was a 5.92. And I think that one of the ways where I could have been a little bit more aggressive on my braking into 3 and 4. Another way that I definitely, I think I could gain some time over that is getting a better exit off 4 on my outlap. That front straight's pretty long, and there's a good bit of space after the start-finish line. So you really want to have that thing wound up coming out of turn 4 and see gain half a tenth or more going into turn 1 just by virtue of having more speed. This is looking really good. Flirting with that wall closer than need to be. On entry there. Didn't get everything on exit. This is going to be in the 4s, which has been pretty decent for me. There's probably more time to be gained in 1 and 2. We'll go ahead and try one more lap. This tends to be how I sort of run my practice too. I'll switch between doing long runs and hot lap runs just to kind of change things up. You know, do a long run, internalize what the lap is, come back to a few hot laps. And you learn different things with the different practice styles, so you don't want to get too locked into one style or the other, at least in my opinion. I find that changing it up throughout the session helps. There we go. See, a little bit later cut into 1 than what I was doing. Help there, and a little bit later cut off 2. Oh boy. Oh! Whoops. A little thunderfoot there off 2. We had a pretty solid run through 1 and 2 there, and then just full thunderfoot. Track temp right now is 111, by the way. It was 106 when I hopped into the session, so track temp comes up pretty quick with the noon time. This track's going to be nice and slick during the race, which is fun. Darlington, when it's hot and slick, the cars get sliding around. You're fighting for grip the whole way. Should be a very, very enjoyable race. So that was a better exit off of 4 there, I think. Aggressive into 1. And again, you know, ride that throttle. Don't overdo it. That right there was pretty solid. Braking right when we get to the thing. Get down, use that lower seam there as a gauge. Didn't maximize my exit too well the way that I wanted there. That's a 408. Again, that's probably not going to get pulled in the SOF race tonight, but that line should be able to at least give you some of the fundamentals on what you're going to be wanting to look for. So I hope that this helps you out. I'm going to keep trying to play around with some different formats and different ways of delivering information, and hopefully giving you guys some helpful tips to help with your racing and stuff like that for those of you guys who are learning and trying to get better. I'm not the best on this sim, but I have learned a few things over a few years that I hope to, you know, transfer to some of you guys who are maybe starting out or have a few less laps than what I've got. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please do click that like button, hit subscribe, head over to twitch.tv/JohnTheodoreLive, click the art to give me a follow, and I'll see you out there. See you guys out there on track tonight. I think it's 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central is the first race here at Darlington. That's usually the big strength of field race, so I'm planning on running that. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.